Well, hey everybody, Pastor Steve here. We've come to the end of another week, still reading the book of Psalms. Today we are in Psalm 54, so I invite you to open your Bible there, and hopefully you've already read the chapter. While you're turning there in your Bible, just want to encourage you, be sure to invite someone to come to worship with you, come to life group with you this coming Sunday here at First Baptist. We have our three services at 8:30 and 11 o'clock, contemporary services, then our traditional service in the middle at 9:45. So you be in God's house this Sunday and bring somebody with you. Psalm 54, when I read this psalm, and it's just a few verses, it's not a long psalm, what really jumped out at me is how faith is to be ongoing, not up and down, but ongoing, even in the midst of problems and challenges. Let's read this brief psalm and then talk about it a little bit. In verse 1, he says, "Save me, O God, by your name, and vindicate me by your power. Hear my prayer, O God, give ear to the words of my mouth, for or because strangers have risen against me and violent men have sought my life. They have not set God before them." He's praying to God because there are people who are creating problems for him. They're out to get him, they're attacking him, and he's asking God to rescue him from these violent people that have no respect for God. In verse 4, he says, "God is the one who sustains me through these difficult times. Behold, God is my helper. The Lord is the sustainer of my soul." So he's going through these hard times, and he cries for God to deliver him, rescue him, save him, help him. And he acknowledges, "God, you are the one who sustains me through everything." Now, look at verse 5, if you will. He says, "For he, God, will recompense the evil to my foes, and then he says, destroy them in your faithfulness." He's, in other words, confident that God will rescue him and that God will judge those who are doing him wrong, creating problems for him. And so his faith, even in the midst of these challenges, is not weak. He's not walked away from God. Now look at verse 6. "Willingly I will sacrifice to you. I will give thanks to your name, O Lord, for it is good." Your name is good. In the midst of his problems, he continues to worship God, offer praise and sacrifice to God. So he never stops worshiping God. He never stops turning to God. He never stops believing in God. And then finally, if you'll look at verse 7, "For because he has delivered me from all trouble, and my eye has looked," past tense, "with satisfaction upon my enemies." In other words, he had seen God take care of him in the past. Now, the takeaway for me in all of that is that his faith was not dependent on his present circumstances. In the moment, he was going through challenging times with people who were against him. He turns to God, asks God to rescue him and God to judge those who are hurting him. And he's confident that God will do that. And he continues to worship God through all of it. And one of the reasons his faith was strong in the midst of his present trouble was because in the past in his life, when he had gone through challenging times, he had seen God be faithful to him. And there's a lesson there for us. Faith cannot and must not be dependent on circumstances of the moment. Okay? He was going through tough times, but he still believed and trusted. Why? Because he'd seen God be faithful to him in the past. And one of the lessons for us is to celebrate, to remember and celebrate God's past blessings. Those times in the past when God has helped us and done good for us, and let that strengthen our faith in the moment. Too often, followers of Jesus allow what's going on in this present moment in the current circumstances to dictate the quality of their faith, and that's not how it's supposed to be. Faith is sort of like physical exercise. The more you exercise your muscles, the stronger they get. In a similar way, the more you exercise faith, the stronger your faith becomes. So if in the past you have been faithful and trusted God, you will see God bless. And then that strengthens your faith for the moment. If you wait until the crisis starts to show faith, your faith is not going to be as strong as it could be. Don't let your faith, your trust in God, be dependent on your current circumstances. When life is hard, remember the past and let that encourage you in the present. That's the lesson of this psalm. Let God's past actions strengthen your faith. Do not let your current circumstances determine your faith. A really important life and lesson. Look forward to seeing you Sunday. No matter what's going on in your life, be in God's house with God's people to worship God this Sunday. I'll see you Sunday morning, then I'll see you Monday with another devotion.